It's an hour shorter, really.
Yes.
If you vote for me, but if you don't,
Shakes.
Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I don't think we're on. Oh, there we are. Welcome to the Tuesday, October 7th, 2014 meeting of the Hot Springs Board of Directors. And tonight, we are very special. Our invocation will be led by Cub Scout Ethan Jones of the Cub Scout Pack 3, to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And when we stand, the Cub Scouts will come forward and Ethan will pray. Would you please stand with me?
Dear God, thank you for everything you gave us. Thank you for us living in America, and thank you for everything you did. Thank you for creating us and just letting us live in this blessed country. Dear God, please help the homeless and just keep them have shelter, and also have them to have food this winter. Dear God, please also take care of them, dear Lord. And dear God, can you please also just take care of the firemen, and also firemen, police, doctors, and nurses. Dear God, just keep them healthy, and thank you. And dear God, we all know we'll bless them for what they've done, just to keep us all healthy and alive. Dear God, and also dear God, just take care of us and keep everyone safe, and please keep the mayor and the city council to keep them healthy, and make sure they make good choices for the city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Now they will lead us. You want to come forward here, and they're going to lead us in the pledge. You want to come up?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I hereby call this meeting to order. I think since we have so many people, I'd like for their scout director just to come up and tell us what the kids are working on, their badge, and why they're coming to a city board meeting, and what your pack number is 3. And we just want to welcome you. Thanks for bringing the kids.
Thank you very much. Yes, we're very active in a lot of community projects. We do cleanup projects on all the lakes and throughout the city too. Even the Garvin Gardens, when we pick up trash along the highways and do all that. We try to instill the 12 core values in these children, which I won't get into all of them, but the very first one is citizenship. Second one is cooperation. If you start with those two, that leads you on a good path.
Yes.
They're all great kids, and I'm proud to be involved with it. I'm not actually the Cub Master. I'm just a den leader, but I'm very proud to be here, and thank you very much for asking us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for bringing them. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Davidson. Jones.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
McCabe.
Here.
Garcia.
Here.
Foley.
Here.
Carney.
Here. Okay. The first item of business is to consider the approval of the agenda. Directors, are there any corrections, additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda, including items, if any, to be removed from the consent agenda? Okay. Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I so move.
Second.
Is there a second? Okay. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. The motion is adopted. The next item of business is to consider the approval of the minutes of the board meeting for the board meeting that was held on September 16th, 2014. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions, or modifications to the minutes? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The motion is adopted. Okay. In an effort to afford everyone an equal and orderly opportunity to address the items on tonight's agenda, I want to remind our citizens and our guests that we adhere to a 3-minute limit on your comments. For your convenience, we will display a clock timer on the monitors above, and out of respect for all of us, we ask that you honor this request. While members of the board may have questions of the speakers, I ask that any general comments be reserved for the board discussion after all the speakers have been heard. We also ask that all cell phones be silenced during our meeting, and please refrain from any disruptions of the meeting. Should you need to leave prior to the conclusion of the meeting after your item is discussed, would you please do so quietly because we have other business to take care of. And thank all of you. It's a great crowd. Thank you so much for coming and being concerned with this business of our city. We appreciate your interest in being here. At this time, do we have guests other than the Boy Scouts to be acknowledged? The city web team, are we doing?
Yeah, Mayor and Board of Directors and members of the audience. Tonight it's my pleasure to kind of bring attention to an award, or 2 awards actually, that the City of Hot Springs received from the 3CMA organization, which is City, County Marketing and Communication Marketing. This board, just for the public's sake, this board back in 2013 accepted a $42,000 award from an organization called Civic Plus, which is one of the preeminent web designers for local government in the country. And the team I'm about to introduce was critical in making sure that that particular web upgrade went live this year. And so a couple of things. One, we won the Savvy Award, which is the equivalent of the Oscar, the Tonys, the Emmys for governmental communication in the area of digital interactive websites. And we won in the population division of 85,000 and under for the entire country.
Wow.
And then secondly, we won an award of excellence, which is kind of like the bronze medal, for the most creative with the least dollars spent on this project. So not only do we have an Oscar for the finished product, we have a medal for bringing it in at the least cost of any of the applicants that submitted this award for consideration. Okay, well, we all know that people like me can take credit, but I know where the real work is done, and we wanted to recognize the people who literally worked with our PIO director, Terry Payne, and our former webmaster, Jeff Fields, who were the coordinators of this project. But they needed people, boots on the ground, so to speak, to work on compiling the information into the web page, which could be updated at the drop of a hat and upgraded very simply, so that web page becomes an organic instrument. It's not something that is static and people don't return to because they know the information has not been refreshed. And so I'd like to have Terry, you can come forward just for a second. And I want to introduce other members of the team. I'd like to well, you know her. I'd like to have Sheila Winter. Guys, don't be shy. You ought to be real proud of this.
Yes.
Why don't you turn around and face the people so they can see you? That would be good.
John Faulkner. Jessica Johnson. Kathleen Faison. And finally, our own attendee, Leslie Kaufman. Like, now, if I can have, Bill, why don't you go ahead and take the pictures? Doing that well. And then, Terry, if you can give the awards to Randy at one end and Elaine at the other, and we'll pass them. Thank you. So each member can see those. Once again, this is a great honor for the City of Hot Springs. It shows our commitment to communicating with our public. Obviously, national eyes have recognized that. And I want to thank again our employees for doing a splendid job, and our board for having the courage to apply for that grant and take a risk and totally redesign our webpage. So thank you very much, Mayor.
Hope that didn't block.
Oh, does that block us? Okay. Thank you. And the next item of business is our city manager's report. Just
Yeah,
continue.
thank you. Well, we've got a lot of stuff going on. And seeing our airport manager out there, we had the Arkansas Honor Ride was held this past weekend, which was a fundraising event for military warriors who have been sent to Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, recovering from their injuries. And so our city partnered with that group in a fundraiser to raise money to help those worthy people recover. Engineering, you probably have seen a lot of barricades around town. I want to compliment the work crews. Did John leave, Faulkner? We had to coordinate a detour downtown at Bridge and Central because we had to repair a wastewater line. We got that completed before the weekend, which was our goal. And I want to thank all the departments for cooperating on that. The thermal basin fire main, you might have noticed there's a heck of a lot of pipe up by Central Fusion, and that project will begin in haste tomorrow. There has been some work already started up by St. Mary's Catholic Church, and so we'll be progressing down the west side and then coming back up the east side in the coming months. If you've had a chance to go down Valley Street, you'll notice that the former lumber yard at Runyon and Valley, that bridge will be rebuilt as part of a State Highway Department grant to the city. That building is being raised, and it really creates a much more pleasant visual along our greenway. And hopefully we can continue that all the way up to Grand. I guess finally I'd like to focus on a big event that occurred last Wednesday where the City of Hot Springs Central Avenue was designated one of the 10 greatest streets in America. I want to thank all the staff and all the board members, the mayor who attended that press conference, and all the attention that we've received around the entire state on that. I was in Little Rock on Friday and ran into some people from that city, and everybody's abuzz about what's going on in downtown Hot Springs. So I think that's a proud moment for the community, a proud moment for the region, and I want to thank those who helped to put together that nomination to the American Planning Association for a well-written, well-focused nomination. So that's all I had, Mayor.
Great, thank you. And we did attend the Chamber Board Retreat this past Friday, which was very beneficial. It was in Little Rock. I think the reason they have it in Little Rock so all the guys couldn't say, "Oh, I've got to run to the office and leave," and so we were kind of captive there. But there were a lot of things discussed by the Chamber and Metro Partnership boards, and really dealt with some issues that we will probably see coming before us pretty soon. That we can work together and agree on some issues. So it was a really good week retreat. Okay, we will now have city directors' announcements concerning upcoming events. Karen Garcia. And first of all, I want to thank you for having your monthly, whatever it is it monthly that you have your meetings? And she invited all the mayoral candidates this last time to speak, and thank you for your involvement in what's going on around our city, and you're opening your clubhouse for those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, tonight is National Night Out, and our officers in the police department are meeting right now in many neighborhoods across the city. Before I left my neighborhood, our police chief and one of our captains were there. We got a meeting with our neighborhood watch and new neighbors in our neighborhood that are coming in, and had a very good meeting when I had to leave to come to the city board, and other neighborhoods around the city. And those that are watching, some are meeting all through this evening, and turn your porch light on and participate if they are coming into your neighborhood, or if you weren't aware of it and you're interested in a neighborhood watch, our police department is happy to help with organizing and meeting with people in your neighborhood for neighborhood watch, and we find it very, very beneficial. And also wanted to announce that the 23rd annual Hot Springs Documentary Film Institute will have the opening night of the film festival this Friday the 10th, and the festival will run through this weekend and through next weekend at the Arlington Hotel in downtown Hot Springs. The opening film is Glenn Campbell, I'll Be Me, and everyone is invited to come and participate in the film festival's activities. It's a great event for Hot Springs.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, on Saturday, October 25th, Eureka Baptist Church is sponsoring a community-wide service project titled, I Make a Difference in My Community. The project's goal is to target 4 geographical areas within the city and to complete various needed projects in those areas. Eureka will be working hand in hand with city officials, churches, schools, neighborhoods, and businesses to complete the needed projects. We need as many volunteers as we can get. The second meeting will be October 11th at 10 a.m. at the Garland County Library, Meeting Room C. So anyone that wants to spread the word or just be a volunteer, please come to the meeting. And don't forget, we're selling T-shirts. I'll tell you about that later. Thank you, Mayor.
And your T-shirt says, I make a difference? Is that
In
what
my
it says?
community,
Yes,
it
those are
says.
cool. We all need one of those. We should wear them all one night. Yes.
You're right.
All right. Yes.
Yes, I would like to remind our community that early voting starts October 20th. This is your opportunity to exercise your rights and express your opinion and your support of candidates throughout our community, not just the city, but the county and the state. Early voting keeps you out of the milieu of people on voting day, and you might even escape the crowd that you have to get through to vote in the parking lot. So anyway, October 20th, early voting starts.
Yeah, and under that same thing. Maybe we should announce, I think the state highway and highway officials are picking up signs that are placed illegally. So if you have a friend that put a sign out that shouldn't be in the right of way of the state or city, local or downtown or on government property or whatever, you might want to move it so you can save your sign. So that should probably go out to whoever is listening, to be careful where you put your signs, make them legal. Okay? Yes.
Yeah, I have a number of items. October 24th is National Food Day, and on that day there'll be over 4,700 community events nationwide. Garland County has not participated in that in the past, but this year will be the first year. A number of organizations have pooled their resources to have a number of activities throughout the month of October. Those organizations include National Park Community College, Garland County Library, Park Island Cafe, It's Good Food, Hot Springs Farmer and Artisans Market, Levi Hospital, Growing Healthy Communities, the YMCA, the Quapaw Community Center, and Arkansas Department of Health. Tomorrow at the YMCA from 5:30 to 6:30 is a kickoff on a 14-day food challenge designed to overhaul your diet, to eliminate highly processed foods and sugars for that period of time. There are other events throughout the month, culminating with a big function at the final farmers market on October 25th. So come one, come all for that. On November 1, Levi Hospital will offer its inaugural North Mountain Challenge. It's a 5K run. Instead of starting at the bottom and running to the top and going back to the bottom, we're starting at the top, running down, and then finishing back at the top. So we are very appreciative of the SPA Pacers for their support in that. It's kind of a preliminary event to the SPA 10K, which occurs on November 22nd, which starts down here at the Embassy, runs through downtown, and then they go over West Mountain and come back. So if you want to get your mountain running in, those are two events for you to do. And if you do those two mountain events, then there's no reason for you not to participate in the November 22nd chili cook-off at the parking garage, which is sponsored by the Downtown Association of Hot Springs. That's Monday, November 24th, Monday, November 24th. And the proceeds that are raised there go to assist in lighting the downtown. And a couple months ago, they approved $10,000 and gave it to the City Hot Springs to support the lighting program during the holidays. So those are a number of upcoming events, and reaching way out about 51 weeks from now. The first weekend in October of 2015 will be the Hot Water Hills Music and Arts Festival. That was in Hill Wheatley Plaza this past weekend. I was able to attend some of the music events on Sunday afternoon, and some very top quality musicians, and it was an enjoyable event. So thank you.
Okay, back up just a little bit on your thing over there. It has a website for the Healthy Hot Springs through there.
Yeah.
Would you just give them where to look on the web, and it tells all those healthy events that are
Right.
happening?
It's actually the levihospital.com/blog.
Blog,
And
yeah.
then look, there'll be a link to that. But there's any number of things. There's actually a pretty good gift basket that's
If you go
available.
for 3.
And if you attend 3, and I think there's about 5 events left, so they have a little what they call a food passport, and every one you go to, you get it stamped or marked, and then they and if you bring your passport in on the 25th at Farmers Market, you'll be in a drawing. So right now, your chances of winning are really pretty good. So come one, come all.
And that's also in cooperation with Healthy Hot Springs and Project Hope, and all those people are involved in this, so come on out. That's
A lot of good people involved.
Okay. Any other announcements of upcoming events, even to 2015?
Mark your calendar.
Thank you for filling our calendar. Okay. The next item of business is consideration of the consent agenda. Items in this section are of a routine nature and will be considered as one item of business without discussion. I will entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
May I so move?
And is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, and I have a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Foley,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted. Okay. I do have the sign-up sheet over there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. The next item of business to consider resolution number R14-181. Council, would you please read the resolution by title?
Resolution accepting a grant from Arkansas Fire Prevention Commission for fire prevention services. That concludes your reading. If now entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and our staff person is the chief.
Good evening, board members, mayor. My name is Edward Davis. I'm the fire chief of the city of Hot Springs. Tonight, we want to celebrate the endeavors of the fire marshals and also for the state Fire Prevention Commission for their efforts to fund fire safety activities throughout the state of Arkansas. The state of Arkansas is offering Hot Springs a grant in the amount of $2,324 that will be used for our 2014 fall fire prevention activities. The fire department targets children because they are the group that is most in danger within the community. The money will be used for our fire safety activities that are occurring now and will occur through Halloween. Tonight we have some folks from the state who made this possible. Senator Alan Clark, he's been a great supporter of the fire service, and also Charles Butler, he is the chairman of the Arkansas Fire Prevention Commission. So we'd like to recognize those individuals. Charles, would you like to come up? And I have to tell on Charles, he has a very long history with the fire service. He's probably trained about 90% of the firefighters in the state of Arkansas at one time or another. In his past life, Charles was the director of the Arkansas Fire Academy down in Camden. At this time, I'd also like to have Senator Clark, Fire Marshal Tom Broughton, and Assistant Fire Marshal Carlton Scott come forward. Assistant Fire Marshal Scott is the one that began to look into getting these monies, and I certainly want to recognize his efforts tonight. Let him accept the check.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. You know, it's a great pleasure to give away money this day and time. And this check is presented by the Arkansas Fire Prevention Commission to the Hot Springs Fire Department for their use in their various fire prevention programs. And just a word about the commission. We are an 11-member commission. We meet quarterly. These grants are very competitive. And each quarter we review anywhere from 20 to 30 grants. And it's with pleasure that I present this check to the city of Hot Springs. Hello, Senator, again. And
You guys get the picture, Alan, you and Charles. Thank you, board members.
Thank you so much. It's a great privilege to receive money too, and be able to give it away. Okay, our next item of business.
Need to call the roll. I'm sorry.
Oh, on that one,
Yeah.
we didn't do it.
No, not yet.
That means we
We
haven't
got so
accepted
excited
them.
about the check.
Yes, we're excited about the check. We got in the middle of that. Okay. Was there any discussion on whether or not we should do this? We didn't have discussion either. Okay. Do I have a motion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll. There you go.
Jones,
You're good.
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Foley,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
Thank you. Okay, The next item of business is to consider resolution number R14-182 through 194, which are condemnations of property. And council, would you please proceed from here?
We're going to get those on your individual screens, okay?
Yes.
You're live, yeah.
Mayor, the first one under Agenda Item 21A is Resolution R14-182, a resolution condemning certain real property at 100 Emma. If you would, please entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And discussion, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Bart Jones, Planning Department. This is 100 Emma Street, and that's the back of it. There's been substantial fire damage.
You perfected service on the owner, Mr. Jones.
Yes, I have, Mr. Albright.
Anyone from the board have any questions of this item? Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R14-182, a resolution condemning certain real property at 100 Emma Street? 100 Emma Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you'd call for the vote.
Okay, would you please call the roll?
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Mayor, next item under Agenda Item 21B is Resolution R14-183, a resolution condemning certain real property at 124 Grove Street. If you would, please entertain a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. 124 Grove Street, if I'll go back to the first slide, well, I said I was going to do that. This house, you can see the white board on the front. It's vacant. We've had to board it up on several occasions where people have broken into it. You can see it's got structural damage. People have been in it and trashed it out. So,
Is it? Okay.
And you perfected service on the owner of this property?
yes, sir. I'll start adding that, Mr. Albright.
Thank you. You know I'm going to ask. I'm sorry. That Fair case is still echoing in my mind. Any questions from the board? Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R14-183, a resolution condemning certain real property at 124 Grove Street? 124 Grove Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call for the vote.
Would you please call the roll?
Yes. McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted.
Next item under 21C is Resolution R14-184, a resolution condemning certain real property at 134 Highland Park. If you would, Mayor, please entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Obviously, this is a burnt structure. It shows it a little better in the back. It's been that way for over a year, and we have perfected service, Mr. Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any questions from the board on this property? Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R14-184, a resolution condemning certain real property at 134 Highland Park? 134 Highland Park. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call to the vote.
Would you please call the roll?
Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Mayor, next item under 21D is Resolution R14-185, a resolution condemning certain real property at 134 Lafayette Street. If you would, please entertain a motion to second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr.
Thank
Jones.
you. 134 Lafayette. As you can see, the back of it is wide open. It deteriorated, collapsing. We have perfected service on the owner, and the house needs to be raised and removed.
Any questions from the board?
I do have one question. Bart, how many of these homes are local owners versus out-of-city owners?
On this one, I have 4 local owners out of 13, so
Okay, thank you. 4 out of 13 are local.
Yes, sir.
They live here in Hot Springs. All the rest of them are absentee owners.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R14-185, a resolution condemning certain real property at 134 Lafayette Street? 134 Lafayette Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you'd call for the vote.
Would you call the roll?
Yes. Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted.
Mayor, your next item is 21E, a resolution R-14-186, a resolution condemning certain real property at 140 Gibson Street. If you would, please entertain a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Jones?
Thank you, Mayor. We have perfected service to the owner on this, Mr. Albright. 140 Gibson Street. Open vacant structure, has structural damage, plumbing problems. It's been vacant for over 5 years, and we're in a position to have something done with it.
Any questions on this property from the board? Anyone here to speak in opposition to Resolution R-14-186, a resolution condemning certain real property at 140 Gibson Street? 140 Gibson Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you'd call for the vote.
Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It
Your
is
next-
adopted.
Sorry. Your next item under 21F is Resolution R-14-187, a resolution condemning certain real property at 200 Plateau Street. If you would, please entertain a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a
Second.
second? We have a motion and a second. Mr. Jones?
Thank you, Mayor. 200 Plateau, this is another structure that the city has had to board up to keep people from going in it. That doesn't always work. Trashed it out, has electrical problems. This is an out-of-state owner, and we have perfected service on the owner.
Any questions from the board? Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-14-187, a resolution condemning certain real property at 200 Plateau Street? 200 Plateau Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you'd entertain.
Wait just a minute, there's one.
Brian, there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What's that?
He needs to come to the mic.
microphone?
Come up to the mic, sir. Are you objecting to the condemnation of this property?
I don't know what y'all talking about doing to it, but I stay right next door to it. I done called the code folks so many times and the police.
You, you live next door to this property?
I stay at 206. Matter of fact, the code lady was over there a couple of days ago, renewing Trish or somebody. But it should be on record how many times we done called about the house.
So are you in favor of the city doing something to condemn this property, tear it down, clean up the property?
The house been like that for about 10 years or more.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Can't sleep because they always in and out. I done
Oh,
boarded
wow.
it up myself several times.
Wow. Thank you.
Then
Thank
I
you
had
for
to put a
coming.
little homemade fence up between my house and that house to keep them from coming through my yard.
Well, we'll try to help you out here. Thank you. Okay.
Call for the
Was
vote.
that, and would you please call the
Yes.
roll?
Jones. Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
Is adopted.
Mayor, next item is 21G, Resolution R-14-188, a resolution condemning certain real property at 201 Tupper Street. If you would, entertain a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt? And a second?
Second.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. 201 Tupper Street, another structure that we've been forced to board up. We have perfected service on the owner, has structural damage both to the floor and the ceiling, roof leaks, and it's been there for quite a while also.
Okay.
Any questions of the board? Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-14-188, a resolution condemning certain real property at 201 Tupper Street? 201 Tupper Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call for the vote.
Would you call the roll?
Yes. Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted.
Mayor, next item is 21H, Resolution R-14-189, a resolution condemning certain real property at 208 Oak Cliff Street. If you would, please entertain a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. As you can see, 208 Oak Cliff, another open vacant structure, major structural damage. We've perfected service to the owner, Mr. Albright, and we need to move forward with this one also.
Any questions of the board?
I I'd like for you to explain, just so the public will know, why it takes so long. That's the number one question. When will it get done?
I'd be happy to. Let me go back. This house. As an example, this is one block off of Central, pretty visual house. Probably a lot of you have seen that house. The reason it's coming to the board tonight is because it has deteriorated to the point where you have structural damage, electrical damage, plumbing damage. In the past, whether we boarded it up or somebody else boarded it up, it had not deteriorated to the point where I would come before this board and look you in the eye and say that building needs to be tore down. So we boarded up. We boarded up to try to save it. And then we hope that it either sell for taxes or an out-of-state owner will decide to come in and do something with it. There are a lot of houses out, vacant houses out there that are structurally sound that have a few problems that the owners have either passed away or there are no heirs or they lost it to the bank, foreclosures. And we don't want to just go out there, to this point, we haven't wanted to go out there and just tear down houses because they're empty.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions on this property? Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-14-189, a resolution condemning certain real property at 208 Oak Cliff Street? 208 Oak Cliff Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you'd call for the vote.
Would you call the roll, please?
McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted.
Next item is 21L. I'm sorry. Resolution R-14-190, a resolution condemning certain real property at 208 Yardley Street. If you would, please entertain the motion and second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second. Okay. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. 28 Yardley's mobile home, it's been vacant for quite a while. It has structural damage, electrical damage, plumbing issues. We have perfected service to the owner. The owner has implied he would like to fix it up, but it's been there a while. We're running out of time. We'll give him a chance if he steps forward and does it.
Any questions of the board? Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-14-190, a resolution condemning certain real property at 208 Yardley Street? 208 Yardley Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you'd call for the vote.
Would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted.
Next item is 21J, Resolution R-14-191, a resolution condemning certain real property at 330 Palmetto Street. If you would, Mayor, please entertain a motion to second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So
And a
moved.
second? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. 330 Palmetto. Doesn't look real bad from the front, but it's had a fire. It's been there for a long time also. Gentleman bought it for back taxes, determined the previous owner we couldn't locate. The new owner wasn't aware of the extent of the damage. He's in Utah. We have perfected service. So he's basically just going to let us tear it down.
Any questions on this property? Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-14-191, a resolution condemning certain real property at 330 Palmetto Street? 330 Palmetto Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you call for the vote.
Would you call the roll?
Yes. Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
It's adopted.
It is adopted.
Your next item is 21K, Resolution R-14-192, a resolution condemning certain real property at 412 South Street. If you would, please entertain a motion to second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
May I have a motion to adopt?
So
So
moved.
moved.
And
Second.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. 412 South Street. You see it's been boarded up. Another case where it has been sitting there vacant for quite some time. You can see the damage, roof damage. A tree fell on it, fell on the neighbor's house. We have perfected notice to the owner. The owner lives in Garland County, but not in Hot Springs. And we'll probably end up tearing this one down.
Any questions? Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-14-192 and a resolution condemning certain real property at 412 South Street? 412 South Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call for the vote.
Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted.
Next item is 21K, a resolution R-14-193, a resolution condemning certain real property at 512 South Patterson Street, 516 South Patterson Street. If you would, please seek a motion to adopt and a second and have discussion if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt
So
So moved.
moved.
and a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Jones.
Thank you, ma'am. 516 South Patterson, open vacant structure. This is a local owner. They do not have a lot of means. We have perfected service to the local owner. They do not have the means to fix it up or to tear it down, so we're taking it through condemnation and probably end up doing that ourselves.
Are there any questions of the board first? I think we have someone signed up for this one.
Melanie and Ken Johnson.
It's in our name, but we haven't had the property in many years. I sold it to a great nephew, and he refused to put it in his name, and I
Okay. Okay.
What I would like to do, I do have some friends that are trying to sell the property.
Okay.
And I will, I do not have a lot of means, but I will do the best I can.
Okay. Mr. Jones, you want to get with her? Did you have them on your list?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I was on their front porch
Okay.
about a month ago. So, and yes, we can work with them. There will be at least 45 days from now until the time that I could actually show up and tear it down. I'd be happy to work with them for that amount of time. The gentleman they're discussing, nothing's ever been recorded. I've never seen a document transferring. I don't doubt at all what they're saying, but right now they are the legal owners of the property. So.
Okay.
Anything else?
Any questions?
Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-14-193, a resolution condemning certain real property at 516 South Patterson Street? 516 South Patterson Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you call for the vote.
Okay,
I
would
do-
you
I
call?
do have a,
Yeah,
I
you
do,
have a
ha- I
question?
do now have a question. If the property is condemned, what happens if the owner is able to come up with a solution? for
There's a
this?
30-day period before any bid letting even begins.
Okay, great.
And so
Thank
we always allow them 30 days to set up arrangements, whether it's to get a demo permit or a rehab permit through the planning office.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted.
Your last item under condemnations is Resolution R-14-194, a resolution condemning certain real property at 624 Illinois Street. If you would entertain a motion, second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Second.
Thank you. 624 Illinois had a fire. I have perfected service to the owners. They're not able to do anything with it, so we're probably going to end up tearing this one down.
Okay. And
Any questions of the board?
I
Director
have
Preston?
a question on A through M. Does the city file liens on each of these properties?
Yes, ma'am. For
And
the-
then before there's a tax sale or any type of sale, is that lien satisfied, or does the city have option to take, or do they transfer ownership?
We always file liens. The city does have options on whether or not to try to foreclose on the liens, wait till the property transfers hands, get our lien paid at closing, and on some occasions, we have sold our rights to those liens.
Or
Oh,
they can be, the owner wants to donate the property to Habitat for new homes to be built, the city will work with them on that?
Sure.
I've done that quite a bit, Director Garcia.
Thank you.
Direct habitat to people and let them work it out.
Yes, okay. That's good to let everybody know, too. Thank you for doing that.
Yes, ma'am.
Since this is the last piece of property under consideration, I would just, number one, like to thank you, Bart, for the good work in trying to identify these buildings. I did not do a drive around these properties, but I did on prior occasions, and I'm sickened at the sight that those buildings create in a neighborhood of people who are trying to keep a nice neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
And so getting rid of these, and you know, Chief Flory has been pounding the drum that our community and the crime in our community is in fact directly related to the attitude that we have of tolerance in putting up with structures like these and providing havens like these. So to the extent that you're able to address these and get rid of them for our community, I think you're doing as much to prevent crime in this community as anyone I can think of. So thank you for your work.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor, or Bart, along that same line, about 6 months ago, you brought an equal number of condemnation requests. Can you kind of give us a status on those?
Could we go ahead and finish this one and then let him do that one? We have someone signed up for it.
Oh, I didn't know you
Oh,
had somebody
okay.
signed up.
We just, then you can answer all these. Adrienne Redmond? You come on up to the mic.
My name's Jackie Redmond, and I'm part owner in this house. And we have been talking to some people, try to get it torn down. And the guy's supposed to come Wednesday of next week to give us an estimate on it. And we do plan to have it torn down within the next couple weeks if we come up with a good price.
Mr. Redmond,
That's
just so you understand the process, should the board vote to condemn the property tonight, that doesn't mean the city is going to be out there with a bulldozer tomorrow. Okay, there's a 30-day waiting period before we ever even submit bids.
Okay.
So if you would just work with Mr. Jones.
Will do.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now you can ask your question.
Yeah, I was just curious, Bart, as to the, how,
I didn't know if it was about this one or not. Is this in
oh,
general?
we knew that once we vote, he's gone.
Yeah.
And so I was going to take the opportunity, as some of us have, you know, to try to get clarification on the activities here of past. So I know I'm not asking you to give me a rundown, but, you know, about 6 months ago, we did another 10 or 12, and
Right.
have pretty much those been taken care of?
Right, there's been two groups, April and July. April was 9 of them, they're all gone. Director Foley drove around, those were some of the ones you looked at, the two-story on Hobson, all of those are gone. The ones on July 7th, or July 16th, we have not tore down. There were 7 on that one. The owners have tore down 2. One of them's been repaired, and I'm waiting on the approval of the CDBG money to tear down the other 4. Once that money gets approved, this batch is supposed to go much quicker as far as getting that funding approved. I hope to get these torn down in this calendar year.
Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
other discussion? Any other questions? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Foley,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Appreciate it. Okay. The next item of business is consider ordinance number 01462. First, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title.
So moved.
I have a motion, and do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of the motion to suspend the rules, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01462, an ordinance repealing Ordinance 5989, adopting the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code 2012 edition, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading. If now entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And discussion from, would that be you?
Lance may have actually done the board action request, but I'll be happy to handle this. Previously, January 7, 2014, the board approved Ordinance 5989, which adopted the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code 2012 edition. Arkansas Code annotated Section 1455-207 requires municipalities, if they're going to adopt a technical code by reference, that publication be made prior to the consideration of that ordinance by the board, and that 3 copies of such technical code be on file in the city clerk's office for inspection and review by the public. That was not done, so the previous ordinance that was passed on January 7, 2014, Ordinance 5989, is invalid. So for purposes of clearing it on the books, I'm asking the board to repeal that ordinance. You have a new ordinance for your consideration under Agenda Item 24.
and give it to a company to bring much-needed jobs to our city. We need to plan, not push. I have been told that the reason this new code is trying to be implemented and the demand of sprinkling is because the property owners changed their occupancy destination. I am told that no one had that done. I know I certainly have not. We do not believe this occupancy change happened, and apparently the records were lost, and that is not a valid reason for circumventing the vacant occupancy code by the city. When property owners requested a copy of this, they were told that they do not exist because they say the files are destroyed every 13 years. How can any property owner change something that does not exist? Finally, there is no emergency. There are plenty of questions. There's absolutely no danger to the city by tabling this vote and actually doing some real planning for our downtown. Now that we have received much attention, even if we don't have 23 million visitors a year yet, hopefully we will. I respectfully ask that you postpone or table the vote on this Thermal Basin Fire District tonight and establish open planning meetings so we can address the issues with the city and the property owners that are facing redevelopment. Please consider the property owners' concerns about development when you're deciding to vote or table this Thermal Basin Fire District tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, John Girolamo.
It's been 10 months since the December 17, 2013 meeting. During that meeting, there were many, many promises made about financing, about getting an intern to help develop and work with the building owners. There was many promises of low interest or no interest loans. So far, there has been absolutely nothing that was promised delivered. I believe that those were inducements in order to pass this. If you have not delivered on any of those, you also promised, and I have them recorded right here if you'd like to hear the promises. The reality is that even the intern did not show up. You have situations where the code was not available. As a matter of fact, sometimes building owners would go to the city clerk and other people and ask to see the code, and they would say, well, the book is about this thick, and you can buy it for $300. The biggest problem here is there was only one promise delivered. That was actually the historic preservation seminar that the building owners paid for that has actually been given over the last, since the late 70s in one form or another. I actually used to deliver that in Miami Beach as a city inspector. The reality is we don't have a problem with the existing building code. We don't have a problem with the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code, except each one of these codes that were, one was supposed to make the other a little more palatable. Well, no, there were embellishments on each code. Each code, the fire district code actually changed heights of buildings, sizes of alleys, basically making every building in the city ultimately under this code. Now, I don't think there's one building owner in the city that would not like to have a logical conversation with legitimate efforts by the city rather than what we've been blamed for, like the Majestic Hotel. Not one of these buildings that are owned by private property owners is anything like the Majestic. Now, we've had the city manager make promises. the Chamber of Commerce, which why on earth the Chamber of Commerce is now running this city, I have no idea. That's a political organization by charter. And every time we hear something, it's the Chamber of Commerce or the Metro Partnership. That's fine, but they have members.
Mr. Girolamo, we have
Yes.
to 3
Okay.
minutes.
The last thing I would say is that I did go to the city clerk's office and requested 3 copies that are supposed to be available, and there were 2. Now, technically, that may be splitting hairs, but it still has not complied with the state mandate that 3 copies be available to the public. I would appreciate if you would table this, set up real meetings with the building owners, the real building owners, not somebody that has a 1- or 2-story building. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Girolamo. Dan Lewin.
Dan Lewin, 135 Magnolia Street. I would ask you to table this for now until we can have a public hearing or something that's on it with the owners that are on the block, you might say. I understand that the city is responsible for the old water building on Malvern Avenue and the Math and Science School. Now, are they up to code, or does the city have to bring those buildings up to code, even though the Math and Science School is supposed to be torn down in the future? But so, are you going to bring them up to the same standards that you expect everybody else bring their buildings up? And why do we have to have sprinkler system in buildings that aren't even occupied, that are brick buildings, and buildings that are occupied that are wood buildings don't need it? I don't understand that. So I think that's a real hardship on the public, and we should have a meeting of those people that are asked to do these sprinkler systems. And what would it cost the city to put a sprinkler system in the old water building on Malvern Avenue and the Math and Science School? You know, we haven't heard anything about that. And I always think that good government should lead by example. And so, you know, the city ought to do their job first, and then let the citizens do theirs.
Thank you, Mr. Lewin. Gaylord Brown.
Gaylord Brown. I own 133 Chapel Street, which you heard mentioned here. I really think that we need to hold off on this, on the implementation of anything here, until we can get together with all of the business owners and landowners who are going to be affected and come up with a real, honest game plan. Something that's not forced down there to where it drives the price of the construction, the reconstruction, the implementation out of sight. I was also the owner of 321 Olive Street, which was vacant, and I've since given that away just about. They're going to make a parking lot out of it, so it'll be much nicer looking, I'm sure. And, you know, everything else has been said here that I can think of. But you have to know that these ordinance changes like this that are so dramatic affect real people. And when you're talking about $250,000, or in my case, $60,000 or $80,000, it's something nobody is going to reach into their back pocket and take care of right away. The city needs to partner with the people who are going to be doing this. I have no problem with the sprinkling, but I think the city needs to partner with that. And if you don't, I don't see how that this is going to be as prosperous as we all think. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Jackie Brown.
Hi, my name's Jacqueline Brown. I'm going to try not to cry, but I want you to understand what this has done. The money that we got. We got a small loan to fix up one of our places, to bring it up into the code so that low-income people can live there. We rent to low-income people. We try to make their places nice. We give them decent stoves, refrigerators, beds. We actually put cable in, and we keep the prices low. When they force us into something that we're not even prepared to do, that money takes away from that building that we're bringing low-income people into. Right now, we don't have the money to put a sprinkler system in. We don't have the money to pay the fines that we're said we're going to hit with if we don't follow the clues, if we don't do what we're supposed to, if we don't comply. We're going to go to jail. And then not only that, when you close down our buildings, you will throw those people out into the streets. You will put my son, who came with me to help build this city. We had a dream. We had a dream what we were going to do here. When we found out what it was going to cost us, we were willing to put sprinklers in, but when we found out what it was going to cost us to sprinkle an empty building, the dream became a nightmare. So I'm not what you would call eloquent like some of these other guys are, but I'm telling you, you need to find out how it's going to hurt everybody else before you start making decisions that will hurt everybody else. And it's not just the rich guy on Central Avenue, but it's going to be that poor guy, that vet who lives in our building, who won't have a place to go when you close it for doing something you didn't spend the time to even read. Thank you.
Ms. Brown, can I ask you a question? How many buildings do you own?
Well, we had three pieces of property. We recently sold a piece of property for the price of the lot. The other two buildings, my husband, Gaylord Brown, 133 Chapel Street is one of our buildings. And then we have a small 8-unit on Quapaw.
Okay. I guess we didn't have you identify that, but it got it there, right? Did you get it?
Well, we just need to have people identify who you are, what your
Yeah.
address is, because we're having to compile minutes, and without information, it's not going to make any sense.
Well, he said it when he came up. You said your address, right, Mr. Brown? Your address? 120, was it 121 Chapel?
133 Chapel Street, 321 Olive, which has been sold for the price of the lot. The other building has not been included in this, but I believe by reading what little bit of the ordinances that we've been reading, it won't be long before people who have two-story buildings will be in this too.
Okay.
And my name's Jacqueline Brown.
Okay, thank you. And Jock McGregor?
My name is Jock McGregor. I live at 240 Moorview Road. If you'll bear with me for a minute, I would like to read a couple of short sections from Article 2 of the Arkansas Constitution. Article 2, Section 1, Source of Power. All political power is inherent in the people, and government is instituted for their protection, security, and benefit. I would also like to read Section 22, Property Rights. The right of property is before and higher than any constitutional sanction, and private property shall not be taken, appropriated, or damaged for public use without just compensation. The maneuvering of this body by declaring that the burning down of the Majestic Hotel is a crisis that demanded emergency reaction to the specter of a Holocaust engulfing downtown the way it did in 1913 is beyond rational comprehension. The Majestic, like the buildings consumed in the 1913 fire, were wood frame buildings. The buildings that are the target of the fire basin code are concrete and steel with firewalls between buildings. Buildings built to contain rather than spread fire as a result of the lessons learned in 1913. The panic and inept management of this non-crisis has to make one wonder what the board and the city manager were thinking. The Majestic fire did not spread. Kudos to the fire department and the foresight of the builders of fire-resistant buildings. So one has to wonder why the panic. Is there a hidden agenda to deny the current owners their property rights? Is this agenda supported by other business interests that would benefit from the current owner's misfortune? Are there plans for government financing of a private redevelopment? If any of this is true, the board has lost sight of its function as stewards of the public rights to life, liberty, and property, as stated in Article 2 of the Arkansas Constitution. I would be pleased if the board and/or the city manager could show me that the Constitution doesn't take a backseat to their administrative power and ambition. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McGregor. Okay. Now, discussion by the city board. Do you have any questions of the people who spoke or of our chief?
I don't have any questions of the speakers, but this community has struggled for a long time to address buildings that are unsafe for the population. The state legislature recognized that throughout the state and adopted the international code. They've asked all the cities to adopt it to protect the citizens of this country and this city. I do understand the plight. I obviously can't empathize with it because I'm not in their shoes for the cost of these. But the cost of life in a tragedy is a greater loss than the loss of property for putting sprinkler systems in. The only reason that I support this, absolutely support this, is because it improves the safety for people who are in the downtown area. And it improves the safety for buildings who are adjacent to those who have a misfortune of catching fire. The Majestic was the clarion bell that called everybody's attention to it, but it's not the only reason that people vote for issues. It doesn't have to be an emergency. Somebody is finally supporting the the fire chief and the fire marshal in adopting this code. So I support the code as it's written and suggest adoption.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I had a few questions.
Yes.
First, I guess for the city attorney, were all the requirements procedurally met and the copies available, the 3 copies available?
Yes, they were. There were 3 copies. When Mr. Girolamo went in on Monday, there were 2 copies on the shelf. The reason that you have 3 copies available is because sometimes they're being used, and one set was in use by me. So there were 2 other copies, as he indicated, on the shelf. We had 3 copies prior to the notice being published in the newspaper as required by Arkansas Code, annotated 1455-207.
Thank you. And then I had some questions of Chief Davis. Because as I understood previously and today, that this was the Arkansas Fire Code that's being asked to be adopted, that we voted on in December, was adopted by the state legislature.
Yes, ma'am, that's very true.
And that that it's a state law that is adopted then by each city.
Yes, ma'am. And it's enforced whether the city adopts it or not.
But it's a state law.
Yes, ma'am.
And that the Thermal Basin Fire District is not as strenuous, or how did you, we've talked about this
Yes,
a
ma'am.
lot, and about what makes a building on the unsafe building
Sure.
list.
Then let me explain what Thermal Basin Fire District is. The Thermal Basin Fire District is a special code district, and the City of Hot Springs is saying that any building existing within the Thermal Basin Fire District, we will waive the rights, if the property owner so chooses, to enforce the building code. We will enforce the existing building code, which is an option for historic buildings. Much less onerous, much less costly. But we give the property owners the ability to get an architect and apply the building code if that's what they wish to do. The existing building code is property owner friendly. Many of these people don't feel that way, but basically it says all you have to do is establish proper means of egress and put in a fire sprinkler system, and you're good to go. Now, you don't have to worry about separation between floors. You don't have to worry about separation between occupancies. You don't have to worry about rated corridors. You don't have to worry about any of those costly things. And in many cases, if you were going to change the occupancy on these buildings and have them for use, you'd still have to put a sprinkler system in anyway and do all those other things. So what the existing building code does, it gives the fire department options. It allows us to be able to say, we will settle for much less in making this building safe. Let me go into just a real quick detail on what makes a building unsafe. If a property owner has torn out a stairwell, which has happened in many cases on these buildings, that makes a building unsafe. If a property owner has taken bricks and concrete and bricked up a means of egress, that makes a building unsafe. If a property owner has left large holes in his floors, that makes a building unsafe. If a property owner has breached firewalls, that makes a building unsafe. There are numerous things in many of these buildings, the vast majority of them have a plethora of code issues. It is the reason why the buildings are not occupied. Now, the fire code looks at this and it says there's 4 states for a building to be in: under construction, safe, unsafe, or demolished. Those are the only 4 states that the code recognizes as far as a building. So you look at these buildings downtown, these 24, they were singled out simply because of the fact that they were allowed to neglect. They were going to seed. And many of these places, the ceilings are falling in. Many of these places, stairwells have been torn out. Many of these places, there are holes in the floor. There are all kinds of problems with them. That's the reason why these 24 buildings were chosen. Now, I'm not going to go pick on people that have maintained their building. If someone's maintained their building and they do the things that we ask them to do, fire department's not going to come in and declare it unsafe. We'd be more than happy to bring the pictures of these buildings before you. We've tried to avoid that because once we do it, there becomes there's a certain responsibility to begin the condemnation process. Many of these buildings are just one step away from that. Fire department doesn't want to issue into that. One of the speakers before said that we haven't had any large-scale fires downtown in recent history. I direct him back to 1989 when 2/3 of a block burned in downtown Hot Springs. 1973 when another 2/3 of a block burned in Hot Springs. I was at both of those fires once as a little child in 73 watching it. It's the thing that made me decide to be a firefighter. So it can happen. And not only can it happen, it will happen at some point in time. And I'll just state that clearly. The Arkansas Fire Prevention Code is meant to be a tool for the city to make sure that buildings are safe. It's nothing more than that. You hired me to be your conscience concerning fire safety. That's what I'm doing. Your conscience is talking to you. You have to decide whether you want to listen to it or not.
The permit fees that are included in this, how does that compare to the neighboring cities?
Well, with the changes that were made, lowering the fees on the sprinklers, it's in line with them. In some cases lower, in some cases higher. Depends upon the municipality you want to deal with.
And on May 16th, 2011, there was a building collapse in Morrilton in a
Yes, ma'am.
two-story building. A 2-year-old little girl died, and it's my understanding there were 4 others injured. That building was an empty building. How does that disaster, was that part of what was included in this update to the 2012 code? And how does that compare to what we want to prevent these type of problems?
Yes, ma'am,
And
absolutely.
put people at risk in public safety.
And the Marlton incident was one of the things that did tend to cause, well, it was an apex for the state readopting the 2012. You know, if you look at it, building failures all across the United States occur in New York City, they occur in Chicago, and you hear those. Those are always the big headlines. The only people that hear about a Marlton incident are those that watch the local news and see it in the paper. But it still affects those families, those ones that lost those loved ones in that building collapse. And, you know, within the last few years, we had a floor collapse on a building in downtown Central Avenue just a couple of months right after that occurred.
And this addresses that, though.
Yes, ma'am.
Was that because the wall fell in? Was that from the
Yes, ma'am. It was a kick out. In other words, when one building fails, it's like a house of cards sometimes. The wall will kick into another building, and then
But
you'll
I
have
mean,
a collapse.
the wall that's the stone wall behind, was that what happened?
Yes, ma'am. It was a kick out. In other words, one wall fell, and it affected the building next door, pushing the wall of that building into it. Those were firewalls as well, not well maintained, but they were firewalls. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not talking about firewall. I'm talking about the mountain.
Oh, the mountain is a
Okay.
different deal. That's addressed, you know, through the FEMA report. You know, and there were some things that were done to secure that, especially behind the Aristocrat. Some of those other buildings that were in extreme danger of having a fall. You know, in some places downtown, it's just been better just to allow them to be a parking lot. You know, the fall hazard's greatly mitigated in that way. Others have put up concrete walls, basically set up a collapse zone in case the part of the mountain falls. You know, we've done what we can as a city to try and deal with that, and you know, but it's kind of an extraneous issue. It's not part of the fire code.
Okay, like right now, we repealed the ordinance and we're in between repealing it and instating the ordinance. And at the bottom of this ordinance, it says alternatives to adopt the 2012 Arkansas Fire Codes with or without fire district map or fee increase. And I feel like the request from everyone was, we don't mind doing what's necessary. We just need to sit around somewhere and be able to communicate and talk about, maybe it's the time element that we're dealing with. It's like every 6 months is really difficult. That puts a hardship on people when you say every 6 months. So maybe if we could adopt what the Arkansas Fire Code is, like it says here, without the fire district map or fee increase, if we could separate the two and then have that time where the property owners themselves, which hasn't happened yet, sit around with you and those involved and really dig into what this means. The existing building code, right now, since we repealed one, does that mean that the vacant fire building code is in effect right now?
No, ma'am.
What does that mean about that?
The
'Cause that
vacant
was-
building code is history. That was a local invention. Something that it's gone.
Was it in that one we repealed? It wasn't?
No, ma'am, it was separate. It was part of city
Separate.
code. It was not part of state fire code.
I want one clarification for the public, because we've had excellent compliance from the vast majority of property owners. We have many property owners downtown. Many have hired architects. They've been to visit our fire department and our building inspectors. They are working diligently to meet the requirements of the code.
Absolutely.
We'd be glad to make that presentation to you at a future meeting and go down the list of who's doing what, because it's really quite commendable.
But our issues are, from the fire department standpoint, is are we going to enforce the fire code or are we not? Well, we're going to enforce it. When I came into the job of fire marshal in 1994, fire chief at that time, Orville Sanders, told me, he says, you've got to get a handle on downtown. And that was very, very solid advice. And so that's what I'm doing now as fire chief. We are addressing these large buildings that are a threat to the community. They're a threat to the firefighters. The firefighters have to go off in and fight it. And you have to remember, firefighters are one of the protected groups named out in the code. It's not just the public. It's police officers. It's firefighters. It's the people that have to go in these buildings if there is an emergency. And I've been in a lot of them where they're sealed up and there's someone inside who's injured or there's a fire inside that building. In many of these buildings, we've fought 4 and 5 fires in them. They're highly fire damaged. When we bring the pictures to you, I think you're going to be shocked.
Well, this was on our webpage where you did it in April 1, 2013, Hot Springs Fire Department Evaluation Report.
I didn't do that. The former fire marshal did that.
Is it not valid?
I don't agree with it. No, I don't try and hide that, but I certainly don't agree with
I think it has your name on here. Sincerely, Edward V. Davis, Fire Chief. Summation. And
Which building is that, ma'am? Is it the Howe building or?
oh, there's a Dugan Stewart building is in fair, good condition, has few issues. It talks there several.
Ma'am, I tell you what, name them off individually, and I will tell you whether I agree with it or don't.
This non-combustible structure currently exists with no utility services and void of loose combustibles. That leaves it in a fireproof state. As
Ma'am, are you
structures.
talking about the Dugan Stewart?
No, that's this one. No, it was just online, and I pulled it
ma'am.
off. But we got the little booklet that had all of those in there, and then the Hale building was in there, too.
Ma'am, the only thing I can tell you is that the buildings that are highlighted in those reports had issues, or they would not be highlighted. The White building there, the First Citizens Bank building, has holes in the floor, has issues with the roof, lots of problems on it. Means of egress stairways are in many cases missing. In fact, an entire stairwell that should be on that building is not there. And the primary means of egress stair has treads that are missing on it. It does not have a standpipe system in it. It has a riser in the basement, but has not been finished. There are a lot of issues with that building. Now, do I think the building is going to burn tonight? No. But we still have to go inside the building. We've had to go in there and remove glass. We've had politicians in the building that if something happened to them, we'd have to go in and get them.
Hanging out the window, yes.
So what I'm saying is the buildings are occupied from time to time.
Okay, but this report says that it's not dangerous and it's vacant, actually. It's not no one's habitable.
Ma'am, the code does not recognize whether it's vacant or whether the building is occupied. It recognizes whether it is safe or unsafe.
Okay, but that was on several of these, that it was deemed in good condition.
Can I interject something here of a public interest, perhaps? It's not germane to the discussion that you're having, but I have keen ear sight. The weather warning sirens have been going off in test mode. That is an unintentional event, so for those of you who may be watching on television and thinking we're having a weather event, the sirens are going off unintentionally. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anyway, just one of the pages said that these things need to be brought up to code prior to any occupancy of the upper floors. I just was reading the report. I thought it was a valid report because we still have it online, and we have a little booklet. That
Ma'am, I've not tried to hide any of the reports that Fire Marshal Sean Labor did or I did. We've made them open to the public.
Yeah, that's...
Well, let's, Mayor, if we could, let's discuss the code.
Yes,
that you
and
all
that's what I wanted to discuss. We can adopt the 2012.
I thought you were talking about buildings. The code is the code. It's a 3-volume set, okay? There's the fire code, and there's 2 sets for building code. This is what the state of Arkansas has adopted through vetting. It's based on the 2012 International Fire Code and the 2012 International Building Code. There have been multiple hearings, as you've indicated yourself. You read the information online. The state of Arkansas has gone through it. Keep in mind, this is 2012 international codes. So they went through a 2-year vetting process to get it right for the state of Arkansas. Once this was adopted by the state of Arkansas, the 2012 edition became null and void. The last ordinance passed by this board was the adoption of the 2007 version. That no longer exists. Therefore, the city of Hot Springs is in flux. What do we enforce? We enforce state law. The fire marshal and the fire chief are delegated through the Arkansas State Fire Marshal's Office to enforce state law, citywide, countywide, statewide. We're nothing special in this issue. The issue is going to be whether or not he writes a citation on behalf of the state of Arkansas and goes through the process of people being, for all intents and purposes, the only thing that can be done is prosecuted, because that's what the prosecutor's office does. Or we can have an ordinance that seeks compliance and the safety of our citizens, our residents, our visitors, and the preservation of these legacy structures that we have downtown in particular. That's best done through the course of an ordinance, one that the city can control, one that the city can implement on a timeline, and we can have work sessions if you want to talk about timelines, but there's no timeline in the code. The code is the code is the code. This fire section has a Chapter 11 that allows us to allow property owners to use what is called the existing building code. The scope of this code, of this chapter, is to apply to existing buildings constructed prior to the adoption of this code. It has nothing to do with this change of occupancy nonsense that everybody seems to keep talking about. It doesn't matter what the assessor has put on the card. It doesn't matter whether a politician's been on the second floor. It doesn't matter about occupancy, whether it's vacant or there has been a change of use. This chapter applies to any existing building constructed prior to the adoption of this code. It allows for the city to use two primary functions, means of egress and sprinkler system, so that they don't have to comply with these two volumes. There's a lot to have to deal with here. Chapter 11 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 11 pages long.
Did we have that in our packet?
Ma'am, that's what's in this code.
I know.
No,
I didn't
you
want to read all of that.
In your packet.
Well, let me cut to the chase. Would you rather deal with 11 pages or 3 volumes?
That's not what I was asking. Is the Thermal Basin Fire District in those books?
No.
That's why I was asking, can we separate it? That's all.
Yes, you can.
Without fire district map and fee increase. That's all I was asking. Can we separate the two and vote on all of this that's state mandated? We've got to do it no matter what. And then
Mayor,
the fire district.
And you can, tonight you can say you're not going to pass the Thermal Basin Fire District or ever pass it, but it's still not going to change the fact that we're enforcing the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code as it's written. It won't change anything.
And we take away one of the flexible tools that we have promoted to the property owners that we have been
We're
working
giving
with.
up. We're basically saying, hey, we're going to enforce those 11 pages on you instead of those 3 volumes.
But those 11 pages, he said that they have the option of just the sprinkler. So it's in there in our fire. What is confusing for everybody that...
I have to make a decision.
Let me finish. What is confusing is that when you say we have this new one fire district and there's 74 buildings there and 24 of them are being issued these papers and these letters, what is confusing is, okay, we all agree, everybody in here agrees, this is the Arkansas Fire Code. We will go with that. What they're not agreeing with is that if you're doing this one district that doesn't include the whole city, and it only includes 24 out of 74 buildings, I think that is what seems to be selective enforcement. And that's what, bottom line, people are confused with. I'm confused with that because there are other buildings that you had said you hadn't even been in.
Oh, there are. And we're dealing with those,
And so now the question is, when you have time, is every building in the city going to have to be inspected and given the 6-month increments that you've given these people? I think the timeline is more or less what these people are talking about. Timeline.
Every building in the city is inspected. The firemen are in it every year.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm saying, are they going to have to comply with sprinkling 1 and 2 floors?
If they're unsafe. We're dealing with 2 of them outside the thermal basin right now that are unsafe structures that are going to have to deal with the same thing. The Royal Vista is one of them.
Right.
So we're in the process of enforcing this citywide, and we're just enforcing the fire code.
Okay,
that's all we're doing.
Can we talk about the time element, the increments, every 6 months? Can that somehow be separated to give people, let's say, a year, because we don't have the water in yet?
Again, I think that gets into the administration of the law as opposed to you adopting the law. The law does not deal with timelines. The law does not deal with targeting. There are, this code does not say there's 24 buildings in Hot Springs, Arkansas
I know
that
that.
we need to target.
So how do we deal with that?
The criminal code that the state of Arkansas adopts doesn't say there are 7 people who need to be convicted of this crime. The code, it says what the law is, what the requirements are, what the criteria are, and what you have to abide by. The administration of that falls to the fire department and to the building officials to enforce this law, to enforce this code. There are appeal rights associated with it. One of the things that's set out clearly within this draft before you this evening is the ability to appeal it to the Board of Adjustments and Appeals.
Right.
That's a requirement under the code, which we have adopted under Article 2.
Okay.
Um,
And
so-
that wasn't listed in the former BARF, was it? It's in this BARF now, so that people know that they can appeal this to the Board of Adjustments.
Yeah, I don't know if it was in the previous BARF or not. I didn't prepare the BARFs, but the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code calls for an appeals board. We have set out an appeals board. It's a 5-member board that this board appoints. It's the BAA. And they can sit as an appellate board for the findings
Yes.
that may be handed down by the fire chief and his fire marshal.
Okay.
So there is an administrative process that can be followed. All that you're being asked to do tonight is to adopt by ordinance what is already the law and a map.
That's exactly right.
But in an increase in fees.
No.
Why can he not ask for a point of clarification? What is the rule that he can't ask?
That is
Can I ask a
chance.
question first?
Yes, ma'am, you may. Just a moment, Ms. Clerk.
Let me approach it just a little differently, because I think the first time it was explained here in December, the sequence of events was out of order, and I know a lot of people misunderstood some of it. That's no complaint. But years and years ago, a group of buildings were taken in under something called the Vacant Building Code. Is that correct?
In 2008.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And at that time,
I need to clarify something.
all the other buildings in the city were still under the Arkansas Fire Code as had been adopted in 2007. But those that were under the Vacant Building Code were not having to adhere to that. And so we come along and the legislature says, we've seen all this happen, we therefore say we're going to adopt this 2012 Fire Code, and we expect this to be law across the state, and we would like to see every city and community adopt this law. What we're saying is if we don't do it, we're saying, no, that can be the law, but we're just Hot Springs that's not going to adopt it. I know this is a simplified version, but if we do adopt it, what we have done is identified a corridor of historic properties that can take, instead of adhering to this building code as specified in the 2012 Fire Code, we say you have the opportunity to go by a lesser and less restrictive code, which is under the Thermal Basin Fire District, and it uses the existing building code so that you will not have to tear up the historic parts of your building and put in metal doors and take out old glass and, whatever. You can leave the building, keep it beautiful, but to get by doing that, then you have to make sure there's a way for everybody to get out if there's a fire, and there's a way to suppress that fire, and the quickest way to suppress that fire is sprinklers.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
right?
We
Exactly right.
understand that. I think the
Well, it
council
was
had
a
something
question.
else to clarify on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify the issue about the vacant structure ordinance that the city has in place. The vacant structure ordinance is still in effect, Chief. What the ordinances that you've just repealed had done and what you are considering tonight will do will limit that vacant structure ordinance to only be applicable to single-family dwellings and duplexes.
Yes, sir, you are correct.
Okay.
That is absolutely right.
And that was what was changed when we made that the last time we voted on this. That's why I wanted to say those people who came that night, up until that time, were under the vacant building structure code, and they were not in violation of that. But once we removed that and put the new one on, then they became in violation. So up until that time, they were not being prosecuted or under
That's accurate.
under any duress to do anything because they were under that code. But then it went away. The thing that I want to allow Mr. Clifton to ask the question you wanted to ask, since you are involved in this financially.
Come on up to the stand.
My question for Mr. Albright and the chief is the 2012 fire code is the law. I mean, it's set in stone. That's it. But the chief has turned around and allowed some buildings to deviate from that. How can that be?
I don't know what you're talking about.
My building for one, other buildings for another. The 2012 fire code, if I'm understanding right, specifically states out what must be done all over the country. But you have allowed us to deviate from that. So how can it be law set in stone, but then you turn around and let us do something different?
What deviations are you referring to?
Brian, he's talking about the compliance period that we've gave him. That's exactly. He's saying that if it's the law, we should just make them do it right now. But there is a compliance period, and for some buildings, it's as much as 6 years. It just depends upon the size of the building. But, you know, there's no way I could come in and say to the medical arts building or to Mr. Clifton, hey, do this tomorrow. You can't build a building in a day. You know, you have to do it over time, and that's what we're trying to accomplish here on this. And, you know, like I said, some of these folks have 6 years, and there's nothing that says that if someone decides they want to do it all in one time, they can do it all in one time. We'll try and be reasonable. The one thing I've told people is, and, you know, I live by this, is that if you're working with me and working with the city to try and be compliant, we're going to be very lenient with you. I mean, and you look at it through the past, you don't have to believe me. Look at our history in dealing with people. We've been extremely lenient on property owners and on new construction with trying to deal with people.
You were extremely lenient on the Majestic. For years, it was not boarded up, and there was nothing done. For over 6 years, it was vacant, and there was no enforcement on that.
Yes, ma'am. It's a deal to where that we just can't continue to do that. And I'll just have to tell you, we sent a letter to county government on their issues. They were certainly not near as unsafe as many of these buildings are. And the county judge hired an architect, drew up plans, and sent compliance information in. Whenever we approached the state of Arkansas concerning the poor state of the rehabilitation center, the state of Arkansas appropriated $3 million to help bring those buildings up to code. So it's not a situation to where the government is saying we're not going to do it. On the Math and Science Center, all of those residential areas are sprinkled. Those portions of those buildings that are required by law to have fire sprinkler systems have fire sprinkler systems in them. Those that are not required by law to have fire sprinkler systems do not. And it's the same we've told these folks. If you don't want to install a sprinkler system, get yourself an architect, which state law says you should do, and come up with a plan to avoid that.
I think they have. But how about our utility building down here that's vacant? Is it sprinkled?
No, ma'am, but it has two means of egress, one on either end of the building, that are compliant.
Okay.
And we have an agreement with the developer to tear it down.
Well, I think they have some agreements to tear down, too. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just clarifying.
Chief, can these be adopted without increasing the fees?
Well, the Board of Directors has the purview to wipe out any fee or raise any fee that you wish to wipe out or raise.
Well, I mean, with your this is coming to us for approval. Are you recommending a fee increase, or is that something that could be looked at a later date instead of raising fees?
No, ma'am, I haven't proposed raising any fees.
We need to look at that as part of a budget discussion.
Yeah, so can we just leave
Yeah, we
that
can
out?
do that.
That's why I asked if we could just divide it, and then we could vote on those two different things. the fire district map and fee increase can be a separate ordinance that we vote on, and the Arkansas Fire Code, we can vote on that because it is the state code. These others are what bring the questions, the fees and the map.
What is the motion?
Well, I would
Oh, I
move
didn't do
to
the motion
amend the ordinance and to not raise fees.
I'll take that as a motion to amend this ordinance by deleting Section 2.
Which is, where is that?
Fees.
Fees. But I was
Is there a second?
asking for, what I really asked for was that we separate the two. I
There's a
just
motion
asked
on the floor.
I didn't ask for that motion. I asked for the motion to separate the fees and the district from the other. That's what I said. And she asked about the fees.
I understand you didn't ask for that, but she made a motion, and you got a second. Now you've got to discuss the motion and the
Okay.
second.
I would ask that we look at not increasing these fees and removing that. As the city manager said, that could be included in the budget discussion. And I would ask that we not raise fees.
Okay, we have a motion that we amend it by taking off the fees from this ordinance and dealing with that separately. Do I have a second?
You already had a second.
You already got one.
Didn't hear you, I'm
Mayor.
sorry.
Come on.
Okay. Is that a
I'm here.
aye vote or a roll
Just,
call?
I mean, you've got a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion to amend to delete Section 2 from this proposed ordinance?
Well, I need some clarification on what is the fee. Apparently, right now, we don't have a code at all. So we're adopting a code.
Yeah,
without fees.
you have repealed the ordinance that repealed the previous ordinance. So the old fee schedule is still in place. The fee schedule that you had in place at the end of 2013 is still what you're dealing with.
And how does that compare with this? I don't recall what that fee schedule was.
Do you know if it went up significantly, Chief? I don't know that.
No,
I don't know that.
from a fire department standpoint, the fees remain the same.
I think the fees in the building department might have gone up
They did.
some.
As a permit, building permits.
Yeah.
Just point for the fire department permit, we did delete a good section of the fees that,
Right.
under guidance of the chiefs.
But still, though,
Section A,
The primary fees are still in place.
absolutely.
Okay, and there is a fee, like if these people have the architect and they bring in their plans, there's the fee per square foot? That some of these buildings are huge, so they have to pay a fee to just have it looked at, to review. the
5 cents per square foot, up to a maximum of $500 is what's in this proposed ordinance for your consideration tonight.
Which that's a reduction from previous. Pretty sizable, actually. Section B there.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to, any further discussion about removing the fees from this? Any discussion? Okay. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Foley,
Aye.
Harney.
Aye. And I would entertain a motion to adopt the 2012 Arkansas Fire Code without the fire district map, and that would to be,
For
Another motion.
their motion on the floor?
For purposes of the minutes, the motion to amend has passed.
Yes.
Is there any further discussion on the motion to adopt as amended?
Thought we just did that. You call the roll, right?
No, ma'am. Yes, the amendment passed.
Okay.
Now you go to the.
Now you need to
Underlying
continue on with
motion.
your discussion of consideration of adoption of the
20
ordinance
Right.
as amended.
Okay. Okay. Adopting the
think the city
ordinance
attorney-
as amended, and that means we're going to adopt it without any other
But
amendments.
You need to have continued discussion or call for the roll, whichever you want to do.
But I'm asking for clarity. If we do that, then we're adopting this without any other amendments to it.
Correct.
All right, that's what I said. I would
But-
like to entertain a motion.
I know. I was just trying to clear up for the minutes.
Okay.
You kind of
Okay.
started early on me.
All right,
And to
clear it up for the
clarify
minutes.
for the minutes.
Okay.
The motion to amend has passed, and so the motion to adopt has been amended.
Right. The motion to adopt has been amended, and I'd like to entertain another motion to amend
Okay.
and remove the fire district map from the adoption of the Arkansas fire code books, and have it voted on separately at our next meeting. Is there a second? Is there a motion or a second for that?
I have a question.
Yes.
If that were to pass, that means they have to, all building owners have to follow the 2012 fire code.
Yeah, we got plans, I mean,
So that means forget waiving all that work that has to be done to make their building safe. Or, I mean, it just adds pressure to
We just
am I
give
right?
time to have what they requested to, I guess their request was to table it until we could.
you've got other property owners who are being responsible,
These
who
property
have
owners are
hired architects who are proposing plans to be adopted now.
Mr. Clifton, do you have an architect? Okay. And I know most of all of them have.
I'm
plans.
just getting the facts out.
Can I,
Trying to get with people to get everything pulled together so everyone understands what can be done and what should be done, what we all can do, instead of saying, this is it, this is what you got to do.
Mr. Clifton, you know that you and I and the city attorney have met numerous times on your building.
Yes, sir.
We've had numerous meetings with you.
Yes, sir.
I just want people to understand that who are watching this.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I understand that. We have. But there's never been a dialogue between us about any options other than what y'all have said in this ordinance.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I believe you called for another amendment or a second and, or a motion and a second, and there has been no response. So I'd like to call for the question.
Okay. All right. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Foley,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Carney.
I abstain.
Motion passes.
It's passed. Okay. That concludes the business section of tonight's meeting. Are there any comments from the board members?
I move that we adjourn.
Okay. Immediately following an adjournment of tonight's business, there will be a public comment section for the board chambers. For those of you who will be leaving, please do so quietly. There being no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I did.
I know, but it was before, it was pre. Is there
I
a
move that we
second?
adjourn.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. We are adjourned.
Do you have anybody signed up?
No.